Hello, my name is Hyder Abbas. I welcome you to this series on Linux Essential. If you want to work in DevOps, cloud or SRE roles, Linux is not optional. It is very essential skills. Every Docker container, every Kubernetes cluster and cloud VM runs on Linux. They manage servers, pipelines, containers and deployment. All of that happens on Linux server. Most of the beginners fears Linux because of the terminal, and DevOps engineer live in the terminal. And once you learn the Linux fundamental, it becomes your biggest strength in the world of DevOps and cloud. So in this entire series, we will be diving into the Linux hands-on directly. Quickly, before we start working on Linux, I would like to give you a quick key points on what exactly it is and maybe the little bit background. And once it is over, we shall directly start with the hands-on experience. As you can see on your screen, Linux is free and open source operating system. You need not to pay for it, and it is multi-user operating system. At a time, multiple users can run or maybe function on that particular machine. What do we mean by that? Practically also we shall see in this entire series. It is highly secure. When it comes to security, compared to all other operating system, Linux is highly secure and it is CLI based. So you'll have a terminal and everything happens with respect to commands. Learning Linux is all about learning the CLI and all the important commands. Okay. Generally, we use Linux for the servers to deploy your application, cloud and DevOps infrastructure, containers, Kubernetes cluster, everything runs on Linux itself. So in the industry, in the DevOps, in the world of DevOps and cloud, we use Linux machines, not the Mac, not the Windows. Hence, it becomes a very, very important, skill for you to know. And coming to the brief, quick history here, it is created by Linus Torvald. Okay, used to work initially with the Unix, but faced some limitations. Then discovered Minix, which inspired him. Then modified the Minix and its own ideas, and we created Linux. Linux is equal to Linus plus Minix is equal to Linux. Okay, Linus, the one who created the Linux, plus Minix, the idea of Minix and Linus together, we got one thing called as Linux operating system, right? And also you might have seen whenever you hear the term Linux, you'll also see there are multiple flavors or you can say distributions of Linux: Ubuntu, CentOS, Amazon Linux, Red Hat, which one to go with. All of them are same irrespective of the Linux operating system. 90 to 95% I would say it's the same. Once you learn any of the flavor, any of this Linux flavor, you'll not face any issue to switch to any other flavor. Okay, so because Linux is open source, many companies downloaded it, customized it and created their own version called distributions. Okay, distribution is all about a different version of the existing Linux, okay, with little bit of modification. And we have Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, Red Hat and many more. There are totally 200 plus Linux distributions or you can say Linux flavor. Okay, in this series we might go with Amazon Linux or maybe Red Hat or Ubuntu. That should not create any problem because 95% of the Linux is same irrespective of which operating system you go with. Okay, that's all about the history. Let's directly get into Linux and try to understand all the essential commands which you use as a DevOps engineer or cloud engineer or in general day in and day out. That will give you confidence to start working with Linux without any problem. So what we'll be doing is I'll not be making you to install anything locally on your machine. We will create one account, a free tier account on AWS. How to create, I will only guide you. You can just follow that. And we will be creating machines, Linux machines on the cloud, and we will get connected to it and we will try to work. So you need not to install something heavy on your local system, okay, irrespective of the operating systems or irrespective of what type of system you have locally. That should not be creating any problem. On the cloud, we will create account. There itself we will create machines and we will work with Linux. You just follow. Okay, once you create the AWS account, install the Git Bash. How to install, how to create an account, I'll be guiding you. After which we will create one Linux machine on the AWS cloud and start working with Linux directly. Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will understand how do we create a free tier account in AWS, for which you can open any of your favorite browser and search for AWS free tier account. And we have an option here. The first option, please do click on this. It will redirect to this page wherein we have an option here, create an account. Please click on this. Again, it will open a new tab wherein you have to enter few details, right? So now we have an option. I would like to enter few details here. First, I would like to enter the email ID. Okay, let me enter the email ID here. I have entered the email ID. I would like to give the username, right? And click on verify the email ID. It will send you the verification code on your email ID. Please do enter the verification code here. I have entered the verification code here. Sometimes it may go on your spams. Please do check that also. And now click on verify, right? And after which it will ask you to give you the password. Please give the password which you can recall. Let me enter my password here. I have entered the password here. Now continue to the next step. I have clicked here. Again, it will redirect to this page, and we have an option here. Go with the free or paid. You can go with the free. I would like to click on choose the free plan because we are creating a free tier account here, right? And now it will ask you to enter few details here. It is for the business or it is for the personal. I would like to click on personal, and it is asking me to enter my full name. Let me just enter here and fill all the details which it is asking. After you fill all this, you can just click on agree and continue the next step. Now it will ask you to enter the billing information wherein you have to enter either credit card or a debit card details. You need not worry, auto deduction will not happen on the free tier account. So if by chance there is some bill and if you have not paid, account will be suspended. Auto deduction will not happen. So freely you can enter all the billing details. So let me enter here. After filling the debit or credit card option, we have an option here, save the card and charge automatically for the future payments. Please don't click that. Okay. You can scroll here and you have an option here. Do you have a PAN? Please click on yes, and you can enter the PAN number here, and you may have to upload the PDF of your PAN card that is needed. They will not be using it for any of the financial deduction, but that is required for the billing. So let me add that here. All this detail is for the India. Based on the country of your stay, you can mention the details which is being asked while creating the account. Fine. Now I would like to click on verify and continue. And for the authentication of the billing information, it will deduct very small amount. If you are in India, it is 2 rupees, and similar if you are in some different regions which you can easily pay. So let me just enter the OTP and proceed further. I'll click on submit and I'll just close this. It will redirect to me a different page, and we have an option here, confirm your identity. I would like to just say here personal use, and ownership type, I would like to just go with the individual here. And based on the region of your stay, you may have to enter that region specific documents which is being asked, right? For India, it may ask PAN card and the other details here, and based on your country of stay, you can enter that particular details here. All this is for the formality. You can proceed ahead and fill all the required details in order to create this free tier account. After filling the required details, I'll click on continue. Now again, it will redirect to one more page wherein we have to verify our identity by entering the mobile phone. Based on your region of stay, you can enter. You can decide whether you want a text message or voice call. Okay, I would like to just go with the text message and enter my details. Now it is asking me to enter the code here. Let me just enter. I have entered the code. Let me click on continue here. All right. Now maybe we may have final step or the account will be created. Okay, so it has redirected to this page wherein we have got one message here. Congratulations, we are activating your account, which should take a few minutes. You will receive an email when this is complete, right? Once you receive the email, you can just click on this, and again we have an option of sign in to console, and we may have to sign in with the required details, right? Whatever details we have given, the email ID and password, same thing you may have to give and log in. You'll be able to see the dashboard which you can see on your screen, right? Now, how do we create an EC2 instance and how to create a Linux machine and use that for our purpose? We shall see going forward. Now, the account is successfully created. We can use this free tier account for our requirement. Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will understand how to install Git Bash terminal, which we can use in order to get connected to the Linux machines which we are creating on the cloud, right? For which you can open any of your favorite browser and search for Git Bash. You'll get so many options. The very first option, Git, which is from gitscm.com, we have an option of downloads. Please click on that. And the moment you click on this, it will redirect to this page wherein you have an option to install Git for multiple operating system. Since right now I'm on the Windows, I would like to go and click on Windows. If you are on the Linux or maybe Macintosh, you can go ahead and click on this. I would like to click on the Windows, and we have multiple options here, and please go for Git for Windows x65 setup. We do have portable also. Please go with the option number 1 which we have here, and the moment you click this, it will start to download. As you can see, within no time it got downloaded. You just have to click on this open, then it will redirect to this page wherein you have an option here of GNU General Public License. You just please click on next, and we have an option where this will be installed, right? It is giving you a default path. If you want this to be installed on some other path, you can specify, you can browse and specify that. Now I would like to click on next, and it is asking me that it is already present in my machine setup. Git Bash is already there, so it is telling it is present. I would like to proceed ahead with the yes option. Again, one more time, there is no problem. Now I want this also to be on my desktop. Rest of all, you can keep it default, need not to check once again. I would like to now click on next, and we do have an option here to give the name. I would like to keep it default and click next. And here it is asking me to go with the default editor. You can keep it as it is. If not, you can go with the visual editor code also, which is a default editor for the Git. If you want, you can keep it as it is. There is no problem here. Click on next. Again, click on next. And again, it is asking me to adjusting your path environment. So whatever is default, I would like to keep it as it is. Then again, same, next. Everything is default, no extra changes here. Next. Again, it is asking me to choose between Windows as a default console or the default option. I would like to keep it default. Everything is default so far. And again, next. And we have an option here, Git credential management, none. I would like to again keep it default. Everything is default. You just have to finally click on install, right? And within no time, it will be installed. As you can see, it is installed. It is asking me to restart the computer, but I'll do that later. Whenever you install any software on your machine, sometimes it may ask you to restart to make it work, but fine, I'll be doing that later. You need not to do it at that instance itself. I'll say here next. Okay, I mean the finish option which you had there, sometimes you'll also get the pop-up to start the Git Bash directly. If not, you can just search for Git Bash here. Okay, we have an option of Git Bash. If you open, you'll be able to see this terminal. Okay, now this terminal could be used in order to get connected to the Linux machines on the cloud or for any other purpose. We have just installed the terminal which we can use for our future purpose. Now the AWS account is created. I hope you have installed the Git Bash terminal also. If not, any other terminal works fine with it. Okay, whatever UI you can see on your screen, it may not be same on your screen. You can ignore that. Just go to the search button and search for EC2. Okay, we'll be creating one virtual Linux machine here, and we'll have an option here, and you can see here launch instance. The moment you click this, it will redirect to this page wherein you have to give the name of this Linux. I'll give the name as maybe Linux VM, whatever name you want you can give. That should not be a matter of concern. And now it is asking you to go with the Amazon machine image, which flavor you want to go with. Okay, I want to go with the Amazon Linux. If you want, you can choose Ubuntu or Red Hat. Hardly there will be changes, small maybe here and there in system servers or maybe in the package managers. Apart from that, 95% of the Linux commands going to remain same irrespective of the flavor or a distribution of Linux you have chosen. Okay, I would like to go with the Amazon Linux. Okay, after which it is asking you to go with the instance type. T2.micro or T3.micro is sufficient. Free tier eligible, you'll get the option. Right now my account is not free tier. Whatever account you have created, it is a free tier account. You'll have an option here, free tier eligible. Okay, so T2.micro or T3.micro, any of that is fine based on the region. And then it is asking you to go with the key pair. So I'll be creating a new key pair. What exactly it is, this key pair is needed in order to get connected to this Linux machine which we are creating on the cloud. On the cloud AWS, we have created one Linux machine. How do you get connected to that and perform the operation? If you want to get connected, then key pair is needed. This is the security key. I would like to create a new one. Name of this, I'll give it as maybe Linux key pair. Okay, that's the name I have given here. .pem, keep it as it is. I would like to create this. The key pair has been created and it will be available on your downloads. Later we may have to use that in order to get connected to this machine. Just follow along, okay? Coming to the security group, you can choose existing or you can just create this. Just tick mark this, okay? And even if you don't, that's fine. Make sure that allow SSH traffic, this should be tick marked. It is compulsory. These two are optional. What exactly it is, if you know AWS, you should be knowing it. If not, ignore that. Just follow whatever I say, right? And after which, just click on launch instance. The instance will be launched within no time. You can see we have this instance. If you go to the instances also, you'll have an option Linux. Ignore the other two. You have Linux VM here. I would like to click on this. We will have an option of connect, okay? When you go to the connect, we will have an option of SSH client connect, okay? SSH client connect, and we may have to use this, for which you have to open your folder. From your folder, wherever the key pair is, from the downloads, I will get my key pairs, okay? I'll just show you a minute of time. Let me just add this here. Great. You can see on your device, whichever you are using, Linux key pair, we have one Linux - key pair. Wherever this is available, from there, right click. I would like to open here Git Bash, and if you open, you'll be having the Git Bash terminal in front of you, okay? And now I have to first give the permission. I would like to give this chmod. What exactly chmod, you'll understand eventually in this particular series. I would like to just give this permission first. Let me just give this copy. Let me just paste it here. You can see here I have pasted this permission, and after this I may have to copy this, okay, entire, in order to get connected to our Linux machine which we have created on the cloud, okay? I would like to just hit this and it will ask you the permission. I would like to just say yes, and it will be connected, okay? Within no time, you can see we have connected to our Linux machine, okay, from our local. Nothing apart from this Git Bash terminal, nothing heavy has been installed on your local machine. It is very lightweight. On the cloud, we created the Linux machine, and through the Git Bash terminal, by following one small process, we have established the connection. You can say ls, what is there currently? We don't have present working directory, and I'll say here who am I. See, all the Linux commands are running fine here. Now, one by one, we shall start understanding the Linux commands. Now the setup is ready. Let's start learning some of the important or essential Linux commands. To start with, Linux file system. Everything in Linux is represented as file. In Windows, we say folder, we say this is a link file, this is maybe a file, but in the Linux, everything is considered as file. A directory or a folder is also considered as a file. We call it as directory file. A normal text file, YAML file can also be considered as a file. And also we have something called as link file. We have some identifiers. The directory start with the D, and the normal file or a text file or a YAML file starts with hyphen, and if there is any link file, that starts with L. What exactly that is, we will understand practically going forward in this series. So I would like to open my terminal again. Okay, it got disconnected. Whenever while you're practicing, if it is disconnecting, again use the same way to connect back to our machines. I would like to again establish the connection back to our machine. Okay, great. Now if you want to clear your screen, we have to use one command here, clear. See, screen is clear, right? Now if you want to check currently you are in which directory, which path, current working directory, pwd, okay, the present working directory, it will give you currently you are inside this. We shall understand the file system also, wherein you'll understand what exactly it is moving forward. But to start with, if you want to create a directory or a folder, and we say here directory, then we have to use one command here, mkdir, and whatever is the name of the directory, I would like to give it as Telusko. Okay, and if you want to create one more, I'll say mkdir. Maybe I would like to create the directory called as maybe alien. Okay, I have created this alien, and we shall have two. Now in order to check what is there in your current working directory, we have one command called as ls. Okay, you can see we have two things. One is alien and one is Telusko. If you want to see in alphabetical order, then we have ls-l. See here, it will give you in alphabetical order. I hope you could able to see this. And at the start also you can see it is starting with D. that means it is a directory file. Starting with D, that is a directory file. What exactly these things are, you will understand once we start with the file permissions. Okay, you will be able to understand that. But see here, D, that is a directory. If you want to create a normal file, then we have multiple options. Those multiple options also we will explore. But to start with, maybe one empty file I want to create, a plain text file or YAML file I want to create, then you can go with something called as touch. I'll say here touch, maybe I want to create linux.txt file. It is an empty Linux text file. Okay, I'll say here maybe touch shell.txt. See, you are able to see this. Okay, and if you want to see something ls, again I want to clear my screen. I would like to clear this screen, and ls-l in alphabetical order. If you want to see something, then you can see this alien, then we have Linux text file, shell text file, and then we have the Telusko here. You can see here the directories which we have, alien and Telusko, those directories starts with D here, starting, and the normal file, text file, or it could be anything else, a normal file starts with hyphen here. See here, it is starting with hyphen. Now if you want to delete a directory or a folder which is empty, then you can go with rmdir, and I would like to delete this. Maybe I want to delete this Linux. Okay, now the directory will be deleted. Great, we don't have anything there. So if I say here ls-l, you can see here we will not have alien because that is deleted since it was empty. Now there is one more directory here, Telusko. Right now that is also empty. I would like to get into this. I want to go inside the directory. How to get into this? CD, and then you have to specify the name of your directory. I would like to just go back here and paste it. One more point I would like to highlight here is that in this terminal, if you just hover over anything, that will be copied. You need not to say Control C or right click copy. All of that is not required here. If you just hover, that will be copied. Okay, now I want to get into this directory or a folder. I would like to just hit this enter. I'm inside this. Okay, present working directory. You can see we are inside this home SED user, and we are inside Telusko. And inside this, I would like to create some files, empty files. Okay, how to add the data to it, we shall see. Cat command, then we'll understand about the visual editors, VI, all of that we shall see going forward. Okay, that's maybe I want to go with anything, maybe aws.txt, some file. Okay, we do have something. Let me clear my screen. Okay, I've cleared my screen, and I will say ls, we do have this available inside this directory. Now I want to come out of this. Okay, I want to move back to where I was. So cd, I'll say dot. Okay, present working directory. I'm out of this Telusko directory. I'm normal, where we have everything. I'll say ls-l. So we do have this. Now if I say rmdir, and if I say Telusko, it will not delete. Earlier when we said same thing for alien, it got deleted because alien directory was empty directory, and whatever directory we are deleting right now, it has some data, and if you just run the same, it will not do this. Okay, if you want to delete a directory or a folder which has some files in it, which has some data in it, then rm-rf, and then you have to specify the name of this directory. Okay, let me just go and specify this, and the moment I run this, it will be deleted. So here ls-l, you'll not see Telusko, that also got deleted. Just to summarize, if you want to create any directory, mkdir, I would like to create one more, maybe Telusko. mkdir, maybe I would like to go with AWS, one more directory. Okay, great. ls, it will give you all. If you want to know also the identifiers, permissions, also the file names in the alphabetical order, then you have to go with ls-l. Okay, we also have an option here, ls-lr. You can see what is the difference. It will just display all the files, directories which are there in the present working directory in alphabetical order. Okay, -l, -lr, alphabetical reverse order, Z to A. First Telusko C, first T, then S, then L, then A. Here first A, L, S, T. Alphabetical increasing order and alphabetical reverse order, -lr. Okay. Now also we have an option here, ls-lt. It will display the latest file on the top. The moment I run this, you can see the latest one which we created is AWS. Okay, this is the latest one we have created. And if you want to see the oldest file or a directory which got created here, then ls hyphen ltr. It will be the oldest one. So Linux was the first one out of all the files we have right now, including the directory files. The oldest one to get created is Linux, then Shell, then Telusko, and then AWS. Latest at the top if you want, then ls-l if you want to display the latest files which has been created recently at the top, then you have to go with ls-lt. If you want the oldest files to be at the top when you display all the files in the present working directory, then you have to go with ls-ltr. These are the very basic commands. I hope you could able to understand. Okay, I'll say ls-l in the alphabetical order. These many things we have right now, and since it is empty, how to delete that? rm dir AWS, it will delete this. Okay, and if you want to delete a directory which has some files in it, rm -rf, and I would like to go with Telusko. Okay, it will delete that also. I hope you are able to understand here. And one thing is that Linux is all about implementation and practice. These basic commands you will be only able to get and adapt if you are practicing. Watching this may not give you complete clarity. I would want you to also set up the required things and start practicing, and if you do along with me, definitely it will give you some meanings, and that will help you to adapt the Linux environment. And similarly, if you want to delete some of the files, remove, and you have to specify the file name. I'll say here linux.txt. It will delete this file. Maybe we have one more file here. I will create touch. It's a command we use to create empty file. Okay, I would like to create one more empty file. Maybe I'll give it as manifest.yaml. Okay, Kubernetes manifest file. It could be anything. Okay, I'll create one more touch. Maybe I will say here anything. I would like to just go with aws.txt. Anything is fine. All right. Now, if you want to delete everything which are text files, we'll say ls-l. We have these many. 2 text files we have and 1 YAML file. I want to delete all the text files at a time. Okay, I'll say here rm all. I'll say star, irrespective of whatever is the name of the file, which ends with the extension .txt. Please delete that. It will be deleted. Fine. So it's say ls-l. We don't have that anymore. I hope you are able to understand. Remove rm. It will just delete all the files. You can be specific by giving the full name, or you can see any file. It could be any name that ends with .txt. I want to delete. Okay, I want to delete this manifest file also. I'll say remove, and whatever is the name of this manifest file, I want to delete. I would like to delete this. Okay, I hope now you are adapt to this very basic fundamental Linux commands, how to navigate. Maybe I would like to just get into this. Maybe Telusko, I have created this. I want to get into Telusko. So this directory I have gone inside this. I'm inside the Telusko right now. I want to move out. I want to move back to where I was. cd ... I'm out of this. Okay, all the commands which we have seen, they are very essential and very basics. Before we proceed further, I want you to practice this, and then we shall understand the other important commands. Now let's continue the journey here. We do have this folder as a directory right now. Let's create one more file here. Maybe the name I would like to give it as, it could be anything, aws.txt, any file of your own choice. That should not be a matter of concern. We have created ls-ls. We do have this. Now I want to maybe replace the name, or maybe I want to change the name of aws.txt to something else. Then we have one command called as mv, which can be used for 2 things. One is to move the file from the current directory to one more directory, one more folder. Also, if you want to change the name, we can use the same command here. Let me just demonstrate here. I'll say mv aws.txt. I want it to change to maybe something else. Maybe I would like to go with alien.txt. Okay, or maybe I would like to give it as azure.txt. Okay, azure.txt. And the moment I run this, I'll say ls-l. You can see we have azure.txt, not the aws.txt. We could able to change the name of a file. Not just that, if you want to move that, maybe I'll say present working directory. We are in this directory currently, and if you want, you can say ls-l. I want to move this file into this Telusko. How do you do that? Again, I'll say move azure.txt file, this file, from the current directory where it is currently to one directory called as Telusko. Okay, ls-l. We don't have anything here. If you want, you can just get into this Telusko, and then if you say ls-l, you will be able to see we have this inside the Telusko directory. Okay, so mv command can be used also to change the name of a file and to move the file from the current directory to a different directory, like the way we have seen here. Now I want to move out of this directory. Okay, I have moved here. Let me clear my screen. I hope you could able to observe this, right? Now let me create one more file here, empty file. It could be anything of your own choice. Maybe I'll say here touch, I'll say alien.txt. Okay, ls-l, we do have this. Now if you want to see the content of a file, then we can go with one command called as cat. Okay, alien.txt. We don't have anything right now because text command is used to create a files which are empty. We don't have any content. There are ways to add the content. We shall explore that. We'd also have an option of a visual editor. We'll understand that going forward in this particular video itself. But to start with, we have one more option, cat, and we just have to write this followed by alien.txt. It will give you an option to add some data. Maybe I can add some data inside this file. Maybe I'll say here Telusko.com has maybe example so many courses. All right, Telusko has live and recorded courses. Anything of your own choice, whatever you want, you can just mention this. And if you want to get back to the normal terminal, Control plus D, you're back. Okay, I'll say here Control plus D, I'm back. And now if I want to check the content of a file, cat, and I'll just specify the name of this particular file, and you'll be able to see here we do have this content. I hope you could able to understand. Suppose we want to create a new file, also add some data. Again, same thing can be used. I'll say cat, and I'll just give the name of the file. It could be anything. I'll say maybe information.txt, right? And I have an option to add some data here. Maybe I'll say here DevOps with AWS, maybe AI engineering, some courses names. Okay, maybe I'll say here system design. Okay, I would like to go with maybe Java, Spring Boot, and Control plus T. I'm out of this. Let me clear my screen. And I'll say ls-l. We do have this file. I'll say cat if I want to see the content of a file. Maybe this file which we have created. Okay, so we do have this available with us, right? And now I want to append some data into this file, existing file. I'll say cat this 2 times info.txt. It will help you to append the data. The moment I run this, whatever you add here, maybe we have DevOps, AWS, engineering, system design, Java, maybe I'll just add here React.js, okay? And Control plus D, I'm out of this. And if you want, you can check this info.txt. And the moment I check, we have React.js also. I hope you could able to understand these basic commands. There is a way actually to create a file and add data to it. We have something called as VI command, visual editor command. About that command I will talk, but for now I hope you could able to understand this, right? So let me just clear my screen here, ls-l. And if you want to display the content of some file alongside numbering, then you can go with cat. I would like to say here -n, and let me just specify anything here. Okay, I would like to just go back and specify the name of the file, and you can see alongside the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, each line will have number associated. It's all about how you want to display some content. Okay, similar to that, we do also have tag. Okay, it will display in the reverse order without numbering. I'll just go back like the way we have cat. And if I just go with tag, it is displaying the reverse. The last line will come as the first line here. Then Java, Spring Boot, then system design, DevOps with AWS. You can see cat and tag. What is the difference? If you want to reverse each word of file at the time of displaying, then we have one more command, reverse, and then followed by the name of the file. Okay, these commands we don't use often, but you should be knowing it. See here, each word will be reverse. That's how the content is displayed on your screen. Let me just clear this. But out of all, generally which command we use in order to see how many files are directories, ls-l, we do have this. And if you want to display content of a file, then cat, and then we specify alien.txt file. We have other options which we have seen, but generally in the real time, day in and day out, we use cat command in order to see this. And we have also used cat command in order to add the content to a file, but in general we may not use that often. Apart from just displaying the content, we use visual editors, VI command. What is that? We will be exploring moving forward. Right now, MB command also we have seen. Now apart from that, we also have an option wherein if you want to copy data of one file into the another file, then also we have one command called as CP command, copy command. Okay, I want to copy whatever is there inside alien.txt to info.txt. Okay, I have just told this, and the moment I run, nothing happens here. Now I'll say here cat. I would like to check what is there inside the info.txt. You can see we could able to get this information was not there inside the info, it was there inside the alien. Not just replacing, it is not appending. Inside info.txt, we also had some data. It is replacing the data with a new data which is coming from alien.txt. So whatever data is there inside this text file or any file in that matter has been copied inside this particular file info.txt, and inside this file if there was some data that will be replaced with the new data which is coming from this file. I hope you could able to notice that here, because earlier in info.txt we had some data, but right now we don't have that. We have the new data which was coming from here, right? So if you have maybe multiple files, okay, what I'm going to do here is maybe I'll create one more file here. I'll say here maybe touch empty file, anything is fine. Maybe I would like to just go with linux.txt. That's the file. We have new file here. Let me clear my screen again. I'll say ls-l. Now, whatever data we have inside alien.txt and info.txt, that data I want to copy inside this. But before that, I would like to add some extra data here. I'll say cat. I want to append something inside info.txt for a differentiating factor. I will say here Linux is important. Okay, that's what I have added. Right, we do have that. Let me just clear this. I'll say ls-l. We do have this. Now I will say here CPU cannot use. CPU you can use if you want to copy one file data into another. I want to copy now two files data, or you can say multiple files data into one more file. In that case, you can go with cat command. After which you have to specify the source files alien.txt and info.txt. Whatever data we have inside these two files, I want to copy that inside one file called as linux.txt. Okay, and the moment I run this, the data will be copied. Now you can check linux.txt, and the moment you run this, you have this data. This data is from alien.txt, and these three lines are coming from the info.txt. Both the files data has been copied into one more file. So by now, I hope you could able to understand one thing is that Linux is all about commands, and these commands will be comfortable only if you start doing it. So I hope if you're watching this video, alongside that you're also doing it. It will be giving you some meaning. Without meaning, if you just watch without practice, it will be meaningless, because Linux is not about learning something theoretical. It's all about implementation and doing hands-on. The more hands-on you do with the Linux, the better you will be. And it is very important, especially if you are getting into the role of DevOps, cloud or SREs, because everything runs on the Linux there. I hope you are there with me. All right. So I'll say here ls-l. We do have this. Now in place of cat, I would like to use head alien. Maybe I want to know what is there inside Linux. Okay. Linux.txt. I'm getting the content. I'll say here cat linux.txt. I'm getting the content, but what is the difference? Head command will give you starting 10 lines only from this file. Cat will print or display all the lines, even if you have 20, 30. Right now, we have only 5 lines inside this file, and either you use cat or head, there is no difference. But head will give you only starting 10 lines, not more than this. I'll do one thing. I will add more content, more lines here. Maybe I'll say here, I want to append more lines into linux.txt file. Let me just add more data. Let me add few lines here. As you can see, I have added more lines here. If you want, you can check this. I will say cat maybe linux.txt file, and the moment I run this, we have these many lines here. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. Okay, now in place of cat, if I just go with head, I'll say here linux.txt file. It will give you only top 10 lines, not all. Till here it is giving, not everything. That's the difference between cat command to display the content of a file and the difference between the head command. And in place of head, if you go with tail, it will give you bottom 10 lines from the last, okay, from here. So it is Maven 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 till here you will get from here. Okay, in place of head, if you go with tail. Okay, so bottommost 10 lines it will display. I'll say here cat or tail linux.txt file, and you'll be able to see from here, okay, the bottommost 10 lines, it is able to display not all the 10 lines from the bottom. Okay, so that's the difference between tail and head and the cat. Generally we use cat, but if you go with head, it will give you starting 10 lines. If you go with tail, it will give you last 10 lines of a file. It will not display everything. But if you go with cat, it will display each and everything there, right? Now, if you want maybe only 4 lines to be displayed, then also we have an option. Maybe I'll say your head, I'll say -n, I'll say 4 linux.txt. You can see only 4 lines are getting displayed. We have option of maybe displaying only specific number of lines from a file. That can also be done. These are very, very basic, but generally we go with cat linux.txt in day in and day out of our lines. Okay. Now, if you want to see all the commands so far we have executed, we have one more command here called as history. Okay, history, all the things which we have executed, these are the commands which we have practiced so far. Each and everything which we have done is available with this one command called as history. By now, I hope you have understood all the very basic, fundamental and very essential Linux commands which we use day in and day out. Before we proceed further, I would request everyone to practice everything which we have done so far, maybe for more than once. Once you're comfortable, then we can practice further with what we have to discuss going forward. Now let's understand one more important Linux command, which is grep, stands for Global Regular Expression Print. Okay, it is a command line utility in Linux used to search for patterns in text using regular expression. Okay, just prints the matching lines. Let's take the example and try to understand, because it is very, very important command. I have created one file here with some content ls-l. You can see here we do have, and if I have to check here, cat telusko.txt file, kindly see the content. We have some content about Telusko here, right? Now I want to print all the lines which has Telusko, for which I would like to say here grep, and I would like to say here I want to print all the lines which has Telusko in it. Telusko followed by, I would like to just say here from the file telusko.txt, right? And you can see we are getting all the lines inside this which has Telusko. However, we are just seeing here 4 lines which has Telusko, but if you see the content, the whole content, there are more than 4 lines which has Telusko in it, right? So we have this line Telusko, you can see here we do have this line Telusko, but it is printing only 4 lines because it takes case sensitivity into consideration. Okay, so it will just print the Telusko as it is because it is case sensitive. So this Telusko is different and this Telusko is different because it is everything is uppercase here, and here everything is the lowercase. I want to print whatever lines which has Telusko as it is, considering case sensitivity. If you want to print something by ignoring the case sensitivity, we have an option here grep -i, then followed the same. Okay, I would just print this by ignoring the case sensitivity. Okay, consider the Telusko alphabets irrespective of whether they are in uppercase, lowercase, or a mixture of both uppercase and lowercase. Please print this. The moment I see this, you can see here we are getting the lines which has Telusko. You can see we have this uppercase also, we have this lowercase also. These many lines has Telusko in it. It is printing everything. Fine. Now I want to print the lines which is exactly opposite, which does not have Telusko. Okay, I'll say grep -v, and I will say Telusko. Okay, whichever lines does not have this. All right, so I'll just go with this, and then I will say from one file called as telusko.txt, right? So I would like to print here. See, again, I have not used here -i. So of course, it will consider the case sensitivity. You are getting this Telusko and lowercase Telusko also. But whichever line had the Telusko, it is not getting printed. Exactly opposite of this. Okay. So if you want to print by ignoring the case sensitivity, grep -i. And I would like to say, please print whichever line has the Telusko. Okay. Please print that. I'll say here telusko.txt. Fine. So we are getting this. This is one more important command in Linux which you might use often, especially if there is a error.log file, or if there is any exception file, logging files, if you want to check which lines has exception, so that you can exactly point out that what is the problem, you can understand from the whole logs. Okay, there it is very, very important, and it is for the pattern matching. Whenever you want to search certain lines with the pattern matching, then we have to go with global regular expression print. This is very important command in Linux, which you can use in your day-to-day life. Alongside that, we also have one more here, -c, which will give you the count. I would like to say how many lines has this Telusko. Okay, it just gives you count, nothing more. Okay, I would like to just hit this. You have 4 lines which has Telusko in it. If you just want to know the count also, you can go with the grep. I hope all of this you could able to see practically. Likewise, we have one more, which is a difference. If you want to know the difference between two files, maybe we have one more file, telusko.txt, and we have one more file, linux.txt. What is the difference between these two files? It will just print this content. Okay, these many things, because many things are there. Of course, these two files are not same, but just in case if you want to see the difference or different content which is there in these two particular files, you can just go with this differently. Right now, both the files are completely different, so it is printing both the files complete content without any change. Okay, let me just clear the screen, and I hope you could able to understand about this very important command, which is grep. Now let's understand one more important topic, which is about the visual editors. Right, this is a way to, generally we use this way to create the file. It can be used to create the file, to add the content, to update the content in the existing file. Okay, so for which we have to use one command called as vi. This is the default editor in any of the Linux machines. I'll say here vi, and if you want to create any file you want, maybe I'll just go with, maybe let's check what files we have here, ls-l. We do have these many files now. So I would like to say here vi, maybe I'll say Linux learning. Okay, Linux learning dot txt. Okay, it will create a new file by name linux learning.txt. It could be .terraform file, it could be .yaml file, doesn't matter the extension here. Okay, so I'll say here txt. It will create this file, and it will have 3 modes. One is command mode, where you cannot type anything, you can just navigate, you can just see the content of a file. Number 2 is the insert mode, where you have an authority, or you have an option to type something or edit something or change something in that file. And number 3 is the escape mode, to come out of this file. Okay, if you want to type something, if you want to update, or if you want to add the data, then you have to press I to get into the insert mode. Here you can type anything you want. I'll say here maybe Telusko Linux learning, whatever message you want, you can type it. Okay, if you want, you can remove also, you can type. If you want to basically edit the file, then you have to go to the insert mode. Whatever edits or whatever changes you have done, if you want to save that, then you have to press escape mode. Okay, then escape on your keyboard, there will be an option top right side, escape button you have to press, after which :WQ. Okay, this will save the content, whatever changes you have made inside the file, that changes will be saved, and then you'll be able to exit from the file. Okay, now this you can use to open the existing files also. I mean, these all files we have not used visual editor to create, we have used the touch commands. Right, I want to edit something here, maybe I want to edit something in my telusko.txt. It's no problem, you can use vi, visual editor, and I want to open this file. Great, and now I'll just hit the enter key here. We have an option, it is the command mode. You can navigate, but you cannot edit, you cannot change anything in this file. You have to press I on your keyboard to get into the insert mode. Now whatever you want, you can just, maybe I'll just remove this content. Okay, now maybe I have removed this by mistake, I don't want to save these changes. Then escape mode on your keyboard, press the escape button at the top, and then :Q exclamatory symbol. Okay, this you have to press it, and now what happens is it will exit the file without saving the changes. Again, if you get into this, those changes will not be saved. I'll just go back here, right click, and again if I have to open this, kindly see here the changes have not been changed. Okay, it is in the command mode, and I'll go to the insert mode. Now I'll maybe edit something, I'll remove something, I'll add something. I'll say here maybe Telusko Linux learning. Right, and now I would like to save this. On your keyboard, please press escape, then :WQ. Okay, and now the moment you hit this, the changes have been saved. If you want, you can check this Telusko maybe .txt. You can see here, you'll be able to see the content. So visual editor vi is what you have to use. This is the default editor in the Linux, and this is what you will be using it. in order to create any file in future. It could be the Terraform file, it could be the YAML file, it could be any log file, whichever file, wherein you'll have an option to type something. And Visual Editor will have three modes. Number one is command mode. By default, the moment you open any file, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to navigate, but you'll not be able to type something, add some content, or remove something. If you want to do that, you have to press I in your keyboard. Later, if you want to save the changes, then escape on your keyboard and then :WQ, like the way we have seen so far. I hope you could able to understand. This is very important command which we use very often in order to create some files in Linux. I hope you could able to understand this. Now let's summarize this, because we have used other ways also to create this file. Just to summarize this, you can see here, that's command we have used in order to create empty file. You'll not be able to add some content. Cat we have seen, wherein directly on your command line you'll have on your terminal itself, you'll have an option to type something, but that is not recommended. Usually cat we use in order to see the content. Okay, now CP command, copy one file data into another file, which we have seen already. And VI, this is the most important. We use this to create an open file for editing, or to add the new content, or to create the new content, remove some content, or maybe to append some content in the existing file. This is a general way we create files in the Linux, which is the VI command. Apart from this, in this series itself, we have seen other commands also. I hope you have practiced that and you are well aware of this. Now let's understand one more important command in Linux, which is the SED commands, which stands for Stream Editor. SED is used to process and transform the text data in Linux. Okay, using a SED, we can substitute the text, we can delete the lines, we can insert new lines, we can modify the data, and most importantly, without opening the file. Using the file, if you want to open the file and edit something, we have Visual Editor, like the way we have seen. You just have to say VI, open the file, and you can perform the operation. Now I want to insert the data, maybe I want to edit, delete, or maybe print the data from a file, or maybe replace the data from a file without opening it. That's where the Stream Editor SED comes into picture. Let's understand practically to get better clarity. I'll just go here and ls-l. We have these many files here. And I'll do one thing. Let's check the content here. Cat telusko.txt file. We do have this. And maybe I want to replace the first occurrence with Telusko AI without opening the file. Then you can definitely go with, I'll say here, SED. And I will say here S, and then I'll say here, wherever we have Telusko, I want to replace that with Telusko AI. Okay, that's what I want to achieve here. From a file, which file I would like to specify here. The file name is telusko.txt, and the moment I execute this, we got an error here. I'll do one thing. I'll just rerun this once again. I'll say right click, and I would like to just go here and specify this forward. Okay, I'll just go back again, and the moment I execute this, you'll be able to notice wherever we have the Telusko, it got replaced with Telusko AI. You can see here Telusko AI and the Telusko AI, wherever there was Telusko, but the original file is not affected here. Again, if I have to open the original file, I'll say here cat, of course, the telusko.txt file. You can notice the original file remains same. It is only taking the data from that file and processing it. The original file is not affected. If you want to make these changes, if you want to replace wherever we have Telusko with Telusko AI, and the changes have to be saved in the original file, then you have to add one more thing here. What is that we have to add? Let me just specify here. I would like to just rerun this. But at the beginning, you have to say -i. Okay, that's the small change you have to say here. Set -i and substitute wherever we have Telusko. Please replace that with Telusko AI inside the file telusko.txt and make the changes in the original file. Without -i, it is able to process the data. You are able to see here on your screen. You can see this. But original file, when I check, it is same as the old data. That means original file is not impacted here. And if you want to save the changes in the original file, then you have to also add this -i. Okay, so let me just go back here and execute this. After I have executed, let me just print this. I'll say cat telusko.txt. You can see the original file is also affected here. Fine. Now it will just make the changes, and of course it has saved the changes into the original file. only the first occurrence of Telusko will be changed with Telusko AI. If there was any second occurrence, that will not be changed. I'll do one thing. I'll clear my screen and I'll say vi telusko.txt. I would like to open this. We have Telusko AI. Now I want to reverse that. And also have this one more occurrence of this. Okay. I'll say Telusko AI. Okay. Also teaches, I'll say maybe bash shell scripting. Okay. Shell scripting. That's what I have to mention here. And maybe one more time here, I would just say here technical content or maybe and products. Telusko AI has its own products. What exactly it is, that's secondary. You can see here we have Telusko AI, multiple occurrences in one line. I would like to just save this and execute the same. All right, I'll say here set. I want to make the changes in the original file. So -I, and then I'll say here substitute. Wherever we have Telusko AI, please replace that with maybe Telusko. Okay. And that's what I want to do it. And then I will say inside a file here called as telusko.txt. Without opening the file, you are able to edit this. You are able to update this. Now I want to check this. I'll say cat telusko.txt. You can see here only the first occurrence wherever Telusko AI was there, that was changed, not the all occurrences. We have one more occurrence which is remaining as it is. Only the first occurrence of Telusko AI is replaced, or you can say updated with Telusko, not all the occurrences. If you want all the occurrences, then of course you may have to go with something called as global. You want everywhere, all the occurrences you want to change, you just have to add here G. That's it. Globally, that means all the occurrences of Telusko AI should be replaced with Telusko. That's the meaning of it. Okay. I'll say here cat and I'll say here telusko.txt file. You can see everything is replaced. Now just to do this, I'll do one thing. I will replace wherever we have Telusko with maybe Telusko AI reverse, because right now all the occurrences it is Telusko. Okay, let me clear my screen here and I'll just go back here. First I will just show you what we have inside this telusko.txt. You can notice we have this everywhere, we have Telusko, right? Now I would like to replace that. Okay, so wherever we have Telusko, I want to replace that with Telusko AI. Now since you have added G here, it will have impact globally. That means all the occurrences of Telusko inside this will be replaced with Telusko AI, not just first occurrence. If you just don't add this, only the first occurrence of Telusko in every line will be impacted or updated, not all the occurrences. Now the moment you add G here, both the occurrences, the first occurrence of Telusko inside this line and the second occurrence, both of that will be replaced with Telusko AI. And also since you have added -I, it will save that. Okay, so now I would like to just go back here. Great. Now again, if I have to say cat telusko.txt, we could able to see this content. I hope you could able to notice this. Not just that, if you want, you can append some content without opening the original file. If you want, you can delete also, right? So let me just do this. I would like to delete some lines here. Maybe it's say 1, 2, 3, 4th line, for example, I want to delete. I will say here SED -I, okay, and then I'll say here maybe 4D, read the 4th line from telusko.txt file. Okay, you can see here I'm not opening the file and updating, right? With the help of this SED command, I'm able to do that. So now again, if I just check this content of telusko.txt, you'll see here the 4th line is not there. You can see here this is first line, second line, third and fourth. 4th line is learning Linux command is fun. Okay, and again after I have executed this command, again if you check 1, 2, 3, 4. Telusko AI is known for quality. I mean, we don't have that line. That line got deleted, right? So this command will delete the 4th line, whichever line you want, maybe first line, second line, doesn't matter. Okay, you can see here we have the first line. Let me just clear my screen here again. I will say cat, we have telusko.txt. Great. And the first line is welcome to Telusko AI learning, Linux training. If you want, you can delete that also. How do you delete this? I'll say here set without opening. Of course, if you want, you can open vi, open the file, go to the insert mode, and you can just delete this, right? You can replace it, you can add new content, but without opening the file, I want to process it, I want to do something. I'll say -I, and I'll say the first line, delete that. Okay, where you have to delete telusko.txt, right? The moment I execute this, I'll say again cat maybe telusko.txt, and you can see the first line is not there. we have directly second line. The first line which we had here, welcome to Telusko AI Linux Learning, that line is not there anymore. That got deleted because of this one command. Okay. Now, if you want, you can add new command also. I mean, a new line also in this existing file without opening it. How do you do that? Again, I will say here sed -i. Okay. And of course, I'll say here before fourth line, I want to add something. Maybe I'll say here before fourth line, I want something to be added. Okay. So here, I'll say here maybe Telusko has live courses too. Okay. Something, whatever you want to add. All right. And after which, I would like to say here inside telusko.txt. Great. And now I would like to just execute once again and see if there are any changes. All right. I'll just go back here and check here. First, second, you can see here third. Before the fourth line, the actual fourth line which was there, now we have Telusko has live courses too. We can add the content without opening it. I hope you could able to understand that. Now maybe I want to delete the last line. Whichever is the last line, I want to delete that. Okay. I don't want to give the specific number, first 1D, 2D. I want to just say whichever is the last line, please delete that. How do we see this? We have to just say here in place of one, we have dollar. And I would like to just execute this, right? I'll say here cat, the last line should be deleted. Okay, nothing more than this. Telusko.txt. The last line, whichever it was, now has been deleted. This will delete the last line. 1D will delete first line. Whichever is the number you want, you can specify. If it's just dollar, the last line. And also we have seen how we can add the data into the existing, file. Like before fourth line, you want something. Before fifth line, you want something. That can also be done using the SED command, the stream editor, wherein you can process the data or you can perform the operation without opening the original file. And if you want to add the line, like the way you have deleted, right? If you want to add the data after the last line, now what you have to do is, I'll say here, I would just specify here $A, and then I'll just say here, you like it or not, Linux is must for DevOps. You like it or not, Linux is must for DevOps. That's what I have added. I have not told any specific line there. Okay. And the moment I execute this, I will say maybe cat telusko.txt, and the moment I execute, we can see the last line automatically. Dollar means last line. Okay. We have you like it or not, Linux is must for DevOps. I hope you could able to understand this set with multiple examples which we have taken so far. I hope you are practicing, because Linux is all about practice more than understanding. Now let's understand some Linux networking commands. Whenever you want to install some software, download some files from the internet, or if you want to make a call to an API, how do we do that from our Linux machine? That's what we may have to understand. We have a concept of a package manager here. Whenever you want to install any software in your Linux machine, we have to use this package manager. And package manager is slightly different with respect to the distributions which you are using. If you are going with the Ubuntu machine, then the package manager we use there is apt. Example, if you want to install Git, then you have to use the package manager apt to install it. If you are using the Amazon Linux or Red Hat, then you can go with yum. And we have an advanced version of yum also, which is latest, which is the DNF. What is that? We will understand here. And I would like to maybe install here Git software. Okay, I'll just go here sudo. Sudo we have to do whenever you have to install the software in your machine to get the super user privileges. Directly if you say yum install maybe Java or any software you want, directly it will not install. You should have the super user privilege. By default, whenever you logged in or if you've got into this Linux machine, if you just check here, who am I? I'm the user which is AC2 user. One Linux machine can have multiple users. It can have groups also which has multiple users, because Linux is multi-user operating system. Okay, so by default this is a username for the Amazon machine, and if you go with the Ubuntu, the username is Ubuntu, right? It does not have the super or root user privileges. Since you're installing some softwares, directly you cannot say please install it. You should have the privileges. You should have the super user privilege, for which you have to go with sudo, right? So I'll say here sudo. The package manager which we can use is yum, since it is a Amazon Linux. Even if you go with the Red Hat, it is same. But if you go with the Ubuntu, then you have to go with apt. That's the small change here. Okay. So I want to maybe install this Git here. I'll say here sudo yum. I'll say install Git. Okay. The moment I do this, Git will be installed. See here, within no time, the Git has to be installed here. You can see it is asking me the permission here. I'll say yes, of course, please do install, and it is installing. Great, it is completed, and you can check here git-v. We are getting the git version. That means git is installed. We have one more here which we use these days. It's not the yum. It is outdated, or you can say it is old. If you want to install any software in place of yum, we have dnf. What is that? See here, I'll say sudo please install. I'll say here dnf in place of yum. I'll say here maybe install maven. Okay, now I have gone with the dnf, not the yum here, right? I'll say yes, of course, please do install. It will install java as well as maven here. So you can see everything is installed within no time, right? So whenever you want to install any of the softwares in your Linux machines, Linux servers, then you have to go with this package managers, right? Now, if you are going with the Red Hat or Amazon Linux, either it is yum or you can go with DNF, like the way we have demonstrated. If it is an Ubuntu machine, then you have to go with APT. Since it is not the Ubuntu, so I have not gone with the APT. Wherever yum or DNF I have used, you can go with the APT. DNF is a newer one. Whatever issues we had in the yum package manager, that has been resolved in the DNF, right? Now, whenever you want to install, or you can say download some files from the internet, we have one more here which is wget. Okay, so let me add a wget and one file name here which I want to download from the internet. As you can see, I have added this one Apache Tomcat software. It's a file, guys. The entire link is about the file which I want to download from the internet. I will just hit this. It is downloading, and I think it has downloaded. I will just say here ls, and you can see we do have the file available. You can see this is the zip file which is available, which we have downloaded from the internet. If you want to download something, you can say wget and you have to give the link. It will be downloaded. If you want to make a call to an API, any HTTP API, then if you want to test an API from the Linux machine, if you want to make a call, then we can use here curl. Okay, so let me just say here curl, and I'll just give any API, any random API endpoint here. Let me add. You can see I have added http api.github.com. Any API you want, you can make a call, so that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm getting some response from the API. This is a response you're generating from the API. If you want to make a call to API, then you can go with the curl. If you want to download some files from the internet, then you can go with the wget. If you want to install some software, you can go with the package managers, right? Now, apart from that, we do also have one more command which is ping. I'll say ping. If you want to make a call, or maybe if you want to get connected to some machines, this can be used very often. Example, I have an Ansible machine. I want to check if I'm able to get connected to my worker nodes. I can ping and check. I can say ping and I can give the IP address and check if my worker nodes are responding me or not, right? So it can be used for that purpose. Also, I can just ping any of the website here. I'll say www.google.com, and let's see, I'm getting some response from the Google. Okay, if you want, you can just test this. If you want to test the connection from your Linux machine to any other machine or any other server, then you can go with the ping command. I would like to stop. Control C here. This will be stopped within no time. This is also one of the networking command which can be used if you want to test the connection from your machine to any other machine. Similarly, if you want to know about the memory level details, then we have one command called as free. It will give you the memory level details. And if you want to know how many running processes we have here currently, then you can go with the top. Like this, commands are there which will give you some metadata, or you can say information. Okay, so let me just come out of this. I would like to clear my screen. Right now, also we have one concept of a zip file. How on the Windows machine we can zip multiple files into one file, we can compress it. In order to archive our files, we can do it here also. In a Linux machine also, if you want, you can add multiple files into one file and you can compress it. You can create a zip file out of it. So we have some files here. Okay, ls-l, and I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, total of 6 text files are there. I want to create one zip file and add all this text file into that zip file, for which you can just go with the command here. I'll say here sudo, I'll say zip, and I have to specify the name of the zip file. Maybe the name of the zip file, it will be DevOps, and I'll say all the files. I'm not going to give any specific name. All files which has an extension .txt should be zipped, should be added inside this zip file. So what this command will do is it will create a zip file by the name DevOps, and all the text files which we have in the current working directory, the present working directory, will be added into this particular folder, or you can say file which is getting created now, right? So the moment I run this, it is added, guys. All this has been added. So let me just clear this. If I say here ls-l, okay, -l, we can see we have one zip file available, right? And inside this zip file, all the text files which I have added will be available. How do we check that? For which we can again say here sudo zip -sf, and I have to specify the name of this file. And the moment I do this, you can see you are able to see the content. Whenever you want to see the content, what is there inside the zip file, then you can just run this command. It will display the content, whatever we have, what you have archived. Archive contains these many text files, so that details are available here. I hope you could able to get this, right? So let me just clear my screen here. I'll say ls-l. Now can we add the content in the existing zip file which is there? Of course it is possible. Example, I'll create one more file here. Maybe I'll say here kubernetes.txt file. I've created a new file here. Now I want to add that into my existing file. Can we do that? Yes. I'll say here zip, and I'll say -r, and then I have to specify the name of my zip file where I want to add my content. Then followed by, I will say the file which I want to add, which is the kubernetes.txt file. Okay, I'll just go and add this. The moment I run this, it will be available. You can see it has added. Again, if you want, you can check this. I'll say zip -sf, and if you see what we have inside this file, if you just run this, you will be able to notice that. Okay, you can see we have this Kubernetes also. So can we add one extra file into the existing zip file? The answer is yes, that is possible, and that is what we have achieved. If you want, you can unzip also. I'll say here unzip, and I would like to specify the name of this file. I'll say right click, and let me just add this. And the moment I add, you can see here it is asking me that replace this alien.txt file. I will say here, because already in this present working directory we do have this available, right? All these text files. Again, it is asking, do you want to replace? Maybe I'll say here yes. Again, it is asking for all the files. It will ask, do you want to replace? Do you want to replace? Do you want to replace? I will say yes, please replace all of them. Okay, it has replaced. It is extracted. Everything is extracted. This is a way to extract one zip file. If you want, you can remove the zip file also, for which we have to just run one command. I will say here rm, and then I have to specify my name of the zip file. If you want, you can just delete the zip file. That is also possible. And I would like to just remove write protected regular files zip file. It is talking about the permission. We don't have permission. What exactly is the permission? We will be understanding that there is something called as file permissions. So I'll just remove it forcefully. I'll say remove -f, and I would like to specify the name of this, and this will be deleted because directly doesn't have this permission. It is talking about the permission. I would like to say this, and of course it will be removed within no time. I'll say ls-l, and you can see we do still have this, even though I have told here hyphen, and I would like to just go back again, and let me just run this remove. I'll say here sudo remove. I'll say -f, and I would like to again specify the name of this zip file. It is deleted thus. Okay, if you want, you can give the prompt yes also. Why? If it is asking the question. However, I'm removing it forcefully. This is how you can delete your zip file. Okay, so this is about how to work with zip files and Linux networking command whenever you're working with Linux. Now let's understand about how do we find files or directories within the Linux system, for which we have two options. Number one is the locate command, and number two is the find command. What is the difference, and why do we have both the options? We may have to understand here, right? I'll say here ls-l. Okay, and maybe I want to check where is the linux.txt file, or maybe telusko.txt file, for which I can just say here locate linux.txt, right? So the moment I run this, I'm getting one error, locate command not found. By default, locate is not available in your Linux system. You may have to install it in order to use it, for which I'll just say here sudo dnf. I'll say install locate. Okay, so locate command by default will not be available in your Linux system. You may have to install it, and I would like to install, say yes, and you can see it is installed within no time. Now I would like to say here locate, and I'll say maybe telusko.txt, and the moment I run this, I'm able to get here cannot start in var live mlocate.db. No such file, but we have this file available. One thing you may have to understand is that locate command will search for whatever file or directory you specify here in its internal database. Internally, it will maintain one database, and whatever details are updated in the database, it will search only from that particular place, not in the whole file system. It will not go and check the entire file system of your Linux. It will just search in its internal database. So whenever you have some files and if you want that to be there in the locate DB, then you may have to run one command and update it. You have to say update DB here. Let me just write this command here, sudo update DB. You may have to update this, okay? And the moment you update this, all the details which we have, all the files which you have created will be updated here. Now again, if you would like to just locate the telusko.txt, and if you run here, you're getting the entire path where it is located, right? Locate can be used in order to find or research the files and directories in your Linux systems which are there in locate DB. Internally, it will maintain its DB. It will go and search only there. Hence, locate is used whenever you want to perform the fast search, not in the entire whole Linux file system, okay? And it will search only if the files are updated in the locate DB, all right? By default, it will not be available. Example, I will create one file here. Maybe the file name is, I will say shell, okay? Shell.sh, okay? This is the file I have created one, shell.sh. And now if I say locate shell.sh, it will not be able to find this. Okay, locate the shell.sh, we are not getting any path here, right? Now I'll say here sudo update DB, and after I say this, of course I'll say here sudo update DB, and after I say this again I will say locate shell, I'll say here .sh, and the moment I say this, I'm getting this entire path where it is located. Only when you update it. If you don't update the database, then you'll not be able to find any files or directory using the locate command. And since it will not search the entire Linux file system, it will go to this DB and then search the files or directories, because of which it is very fast compared to find. Same thing you can do with the help of find also. If you say find, and I would like to specify here name, and the name is telusko.txt, and the moment I do this, I'm able to get where exactly it is. Okay, in the home directory, here is where it is available. So I'll say here find, maybe within the home, please find out where is this file by the name telusko.txt. In the entire Linux file system, it will find and it will give you the complete path here. You have to specify in the entire home directory, all the entire Linux file system, where we have this, it will give you the entire path. Since it will find or it will search for this particular file in the entire Linux file system, it is slightly slow compared to locate, because locate will not search in the entire file system. It will just go and search in its internal database. So if you want to go with the real-time file search, maybe that has not been updated in the database, internal database which locate is using, then you have to go with the find, because it will not search in the database, it will search in the entire file system even if it is not updated in the database. And in case of locate, which we have seen here, unless and until you update, you will not be able to find. Even if you try to search, you will not get any results there. That means it is searching only in the internal DB. That's not the case with the find here. It will search in the entire file system. Since it will search in the entire file system, it is slightly slower than the locate command. And similar to this, if you want to, maybe I want to know how many empty files we have here. I'll say here home, and I will say here -type f, maybe I'll say here empty. Whichever empty files we have in the entire file system, I want to know about it. See, you're getting this. These three files are empty files in the entire Linux file system, right? Now, if you want to know about the empty directory, you can go with find in the entire file system. I want to just know here type, maybe D. I'll say D means directory, okay? Empty. Now, all the empty directories which we have in this, you'll be able to get this. We don't have right now, which we have created. It is giving some default. So I'll do one thing. I'll say mkdir. Maybe I'll just create one directory here by the name AWS. Okay, any name of your own choice. That shouldn't be a problem. And now again, I will search find, and I'll say here type, maybe directory. All the empty directories I want to know alongside their location. The moment I run this, we are getting this. See, we have this within home, within EC2 user. We have one directory which is AWS, and this is currently empty, right? So find and locate can be used in order to locate or find the files and directories within your Linux system. Now let's understand one more important concept in Linux, which is the file permissions. Before we understand file permission, we should also understand, or I'll just give you a quick walkthrough on how to add users in Linux, how to create groups, and in that group, how to add our users. As at the beginning, I have told you that Linux is a multi-user operating system. At a time, multiple users can operate, multiple users can use it, right? Now let me just get back to our machine. And here I would like to add the users here. I'll say yes, sudo user add, and I'll give any name. Maybe I'll just go with the Harsh here, right? And if you want, you can add the password also for Harsh. I'll say sudo, I'll say password, and for Harsh, of course, and it will allow me to enter some password. I would like to enter the password here. Let me enter, and it is asking me to retype. I will retype. You can see all the authentication tokens updated successfully. Like one, we can add multiple also. There is no problem. If you want one more user, I'll say sudo user add, and I'll say here maybe social, right? And again, I'll say sudo maybe password also would like to update for social, right? Now you can see it is asking me to enter the password. Let me enter the password here. I would like to re-enter for the same. You can see all the authentications tokens updated successfully. So what I'm trying to say is, in one Linux machine, we can have multiple users. You can create them. If they want, they can also log in and perform the operation, for which we may have to update in the sudoers file. I don't want to get into this. I would like to talk on the file permissions. But before I talk on the file permissions, I just wanted to give you a glimpse that we can add multiple users. There can be multiple users using your Linux system. Similarly, we can have groups also, and we can also divide the users into multiple groups, right? Maybe there are some users who are dealing with some task, and all of them you want to group it. That is also possible. And if you want, you can create the group also. I'll say sudo to get the admin privileges. I'll say here group add, and I would like to give the name of the group maybe here as Telusko. I have created. And if you want, you can add certain user into the group also. How do you add? I'll say here sudo user mod -a g, and I would like to say in the Telusko group, I want to add Sushil, right? And the moment you do this, Sushil has been added into this group. So the conclusion so far is that in one Linux machine, we can have n number of users. We can create groups also. In that group, we can have multiple users. There are example 6 users. Two, you want to divide into different groups, that can also be done. So in Linux machine, we can have users and we can have groups. That's the conclusion. Now, if you want to get back to this file permissions here, you can see here, we have read, write, execute. For certain files, what you can do with that file? Read, write, and execute. Can you only read it? Do you have a privilege to write that? Can you execute that, right? It's all about the permissions. Now, in permissions, every file will have 3 sections. Number 1 is user. Number 2 is group. Number 2 is others user. What do you mean by that? Let me just get back here, and I would like to clear my screen here. Right, we have certain files which we have created earlier. You can see here we do have some file. You can see initially, if I have to zoom in, you can see we have 3 things here. This is user, this is group, this is others. The last 3 is others, middle 3 is group, and starting 3 is user. What user can do, what group can do, and what others can do. That's what it is talking about. The initial 3 is the user, the next 3 is group, and the next 3 is others, right? So that's what I'm referring here. So if I have to get back here, you can see here users, group, and others. Initial is user, middle is group, and others. R referring to read, W referring to write, X referring to execute, right? So if I have to get back here again, you can see here for this alien.txt, the user can read, can write, right? That's the permission. The group can read and others can read. That's how you have to identify. I'm trying to tell you how to identify this, right? So initial 3 things is user, the rest 3 things is group, and the rest 3 things is the others. This is the default group. The moment you have logged in, you are using this as the EC2 user. For you also a default group has been created. So by default, for any file you can see here, this will be the default permission, right? Read, write, and then read and only read. Others can only read, they cannot write and execute. That's what I'm trying to say. And this is the default permission for the directory in Linux. Fine. So now let's understand this better. If I have to get back here, you can see here, we have read, write and execute, read and write. If you just look into this, read and write, that means user can read and write, group can only read, only R we have, and others can only read because only R we have here. Okay, if I have to give certain examples here, you can see all the files which we have not done so far, we have not given any permissions also, which you can see all the files which we have created. By default, users will have read, write permission. Groups will have only read permission because only R we have, right? And the others will also have the read permission. That's how we have to define. If you want to change some permission, you can do that. For which you may have to use one command here called as chmod. Okay, chmod u for user. I want to give execute permission for which file? For a file which is alien.txt. I would like to add this, right? And I would like to give this. Not just that, for others also I want to give read write permission. I'll say here chmod. For others, I want to give maybe write permission for a file. For which file? For this file. I would like to just add this, right? And after I do this, I want you to observe ls-l. Kindly see here, for alien.txt, we can have read, write and execute permission also have given. For user, execute permission I have given, and for others I have given already by default read permission was there. I have given the write permission. You can see for others I have given write permission for the alien.txt file. I hope you could able to understand this, right? So I'll just go back here, ls-l, and maybe I want to remove the write permission for others which we have here for the file alien.txt, right? So for which I have to use here chmod. For others, please remove write permission for a file which is alien.txt, right? I would like to update this. I'll say ls-l. You can see here we don't have the write permission has been removed here. I hope you could able to observe. Maybe for this linux.txt file, I want to give the maybe write permission, okay, for a group. So I would like to do the same thing here. Let me clear my screen. I will say chmod. I will say for a group, I want to give a write permission for this particular file. I would like to give this, right? And I'll say chmod. I want to give user the execute permission for a file which is linux.txt. All right. And I'll say ls-l. You can see here linux.txt file. For group, we have write permission, and for user, already by default read and write permission was there. I have given the execute permission also. Similarly, if you want to remove this permission, again chmod. For maybe a group, I want to remove the write permission, and for which file? For linux.txt file. I would like to just give this. Okay. And again, if I say ls-l, we can see we have given this. Now, one more point is that we can give these permissions with numeric values also. If I have to show this, let me get back here. All right. And if I have to again show this, even if you go to your AWS account, you have seen something here, right? chmod 400 to this particular file. What is this 400? 400 is also giving permission. And this is representing in numeric format. So can we give permissions in numeric format to this file? Yes, we can give. Example, it is again, they read, write, execute only, but in the numeric format, right? So for a file, I'm giving the permissions, not using this alphabet, u plus x, u minus x, I'm giving execute, I'm removing the permissions, nothing else. We can give the numeric also. How do you do that? And that's what we have to now understand, right? So file permissions in the numeric format. 0 referring to no permission, 1 referring to execute, 2 referring to write, 3 referring to execute plus write, 4 referring to read, right? 5 referring to read plus execute, 6 referring to read plus write, and 7 referring to read, write and execute, because already 6 is read and write, okay? And number 1 is execute, right? What exactly it is, we have to understand. Fine. So now guys, I'll just get back here. I'll say ls-l. We do have certain files. Assume we have file info.txt. Great. Now, or maybe telusko.txt. I would like to take this file. So what is the default permission? For users, we have read and write permission. For group, we have only read permission. And for others, we have only read permission. I want to change, but in numeric format. Okay. I will say chmod. I will say, please see here, for user 7. All right. For group, I'll give 6. And for others, I will give 6. to which file? I will say here telusko.txt. Okay, I would just go back here and say telusko.txt, right? Now what exactly happens here? 7 means, if I have to get back here, kindly see here, 7 referring to read plus write plus execute. That means maximum permission is 7 for a user. 6 referring to 4 plus 2. 4 is read and 2 is write. So I'm giving for a group, I'm giving 6, and for others also I'm giving 6. That means others and group will have read and write permission, and user will have read, write and execute permission, which is 7, and group will have 6 read and write, and the others will also have read and write. So let's check that if that has been allocated. If I say ls-l, we can see here the telusko.txt for user read write text, and for group read and write, and for others also you can see here read and write. I hope you could able to understand this, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'll just clear this ls-l, and I will say chmod. For the user I want to give maximum permissions, great, and for my group and others I want to give only read permissions. Read means 4. Okay, for which file? linux.txt. Let me check, it is 4 and 4 only. I would just cross check in what I have given here. You can see for it is only 4, right? So I would just get back here. So I've told 744. User will have maximum permissions, and group and others will have only read permissions. So you can say ls-l. You can see for telusko.txt, read permission for the group. You can see only read we have, and here also you can see only read we have for others, right? So let me just clear this, and I'll say mkdir. I will create one maybe a directory. Okay, any directory of your own choice. Maybe I'll create a directory called as Terraform. Okay, great. I'll say ls-n. So Terraform is a newly created directory which we have created right now. Okay, this is the directory which we have created. Okay, now I want you to observe here, it is starting referring to D, that means it is a directory. What is the default permissions? We have not yet given any permissions, we have not changed it. What is the default permission for a directory in Linux is the question. See, for users it is read, write, execute, and for group it is read and execute, and for others also read and execute. That is the default permissions for a directory. So let me create one file here. I'll say ansible dot maybe a txt file, and if I say ls-l and ansible.txt file which we have created right now, you can see here what is the default permission for any file in a Linux is the question. For user it is read and write, for group it is only read, and for others it is only read. That's the default permission. Can we change it? The answer is yes. Let me clear this, and now I want to give maximum permission for certain file. Okay, so I'll say here ls-l, and maybe let's go with this ansible.txt only. I want to give maximum permission. That means read, write and execute. So for this file, I want to give the maximum. So I'll say chmod. I will say 7 read, write, execute for user. 7 read, write, execute for user. 7 read, write, execute for a user. Alright. So I would like to just give here 7 is the maximum. Read, write, execute. I'll say ls-l, and you can see ansible.txt. User has read, write, execute. Group has read, write, execute. And also you can see here others will also have read, write and execute. We have given maximum permissions, right? Now let's get back here of what we have written here. We have seen here chmod 400 for this file. That means for user only read permission, and for others and group 00. There is no permission. Can we give same for whatever file we have created here? The answer is yes. So I'll do one thing here. I'll say ls-l. We do have this file, right? I'll say chmod read permission, no group permission is 0, and for others also 0, no permission, for a file called as ansible.txt. And the moment I do this, if I run this, kindly see here ls-l, we can see for ansible.txt only user will have read permission, and others has no permission, and group also has no permission, others also has no permission. So you can give the numeric also, okay, and you can give directly by using this text also. Anything is file. It is about the file permission in the Linux. I hope you could able to understand this. Practically I have shown it. To get a better idea or to get better hold, the only way is to practice. This is all about the Linux, guys. It is a ocean again. Depends on for what purpose you're learning, But if you're getting started for DevOps or maybe cloud, Linux is very, very essential. Day in and day out, you have to use it. I hope whatever we have discussed so far, you got an idea about how Linux works if you have practice, right? So I want you to practice more and try to understand and get a hold of this. And as and when you use as per the need, you can learn any other Linux command easily. This is just the essentials which everyone must know before getting into the world of DevOps or cloud. Once you understand this as per the need, you can learn more Linux command with practice and by giving some time. Now quickly let's understand the Linux architecture. Linux follows a layered architecture where each layer has a specific role. The main components involve hardware, then we have kernel, then we have shell, then we have user or application. Now coming to the user or application, this is where users interact with the system, right? The browser, the terminal commands, the text editor, where we interact with the Linux. Directly, we don't interact with the hardware. Hardware referring to the CPU, the RAM, the hard disk, all the devices. We don't directly, interact with them. So we write the commands using the text editors or browser, or you can say terminal, right? And then we have the most important, you can say the manager. The shell acts like a bridge between this user, the application, and the kernel, who is the actual boss here. Kernel does everything, but shell is a mediator between the user, whatever commands you write, and between the kernel, right? It is like, you can say, interpreter takes our commands here, all the users commands, and converts them into the system call, right? Now, when I type ls or cd or any of the Linux command, the shell understands the command and send it to the kernel here. And kernel is the boss. You can say the heart of Linux, the boss of Linux, and it is the core of Linux operating system. It is the one who manages the memory, process, file system handling, device drivers, network communication. It is the one which decides which process gets the CPU, how memory is allocated, right? How files are read or written, everything. The boss is the kernel here. So user, we will interact our commands, shell will convert that into Linux understandable format, and Linux is the one who does. If shell is the manager, kernel is the boss who does everything here. And then we have the hardware, which is our RAM, CPU, the network device, okay? And only to the hardware, only kernel can directly communicate. We don't communicate, users or whatever commands, we don't directly communicate with the hardware. And this is the hierarchy we follow here. Fine. So basically, Linux architecture separates user interaction, command processing, and hardware control, making the system very secure, stable, and the powerful. Fine. So kernel is the boss, the heart of the Linux, which does everything, which talks to hardware and gets your things done. And we don't interact with the kernel directly. We will be writing the command. Shell converts that into the system calls, which Linux again will make it done or make hardware components do and get us the result here. Fine. So this is the basics and the essentials of Linux for you to get started. Thank you so much for being with me in this beautiful journey of Linux Essential.